Okay. And then next condition, COPD, and it's going to be the same answer whether the client has chronic bronchitis or emphysema or maybe lung cancer or severe asthma. But COPD is the one that I hear about the most for whatever reason. So, yeah. Main symptoms, how to talk to your doctor, what's the best evidence for a COPD case?
Best evidence is, well, the absolutely tipper top of the most best evidence is a pulmonary function study, a PFS. And if you've ever done one, or for anybody who's watching, the machine is kind of like a breathalyzer. Mm-hmm. I've never been pulled over for a DUI. I never had to do that. But for people who have, I've seen it on videos. It's a very small straw, kind of a tube, and it's got resistance. In the machine has resistance in it. You just can't blow through it and stuff like that. You blow really, really hard, and your cheeks will flare up because you're blowing and you're getting that resistance. And the machine, a PFS machine, is measuring, one, your lung capacity, and it creates a curve. You know, how far, how long could you blow? What does that mean? Your expiratory, blowing out. How was that? Was it normal? And of course, they give it a numeric value, and the lower that numeric value is, the worse your condition is. That's the best evidence. In fact, Social Security will buy you a PFS if they believe that your COPD or your bronchitis or even your asthma is possibly listings level. And again, the listings will show, depending on your sex, if you're male or female, and your height. You know, how tall are you? This is what your forced expiratory volume should be, FEV. Your FEV should be this, and it's right there in black and white. It's the listings, and if it's that or less, you meet a listing, and they're going to allow your case. What we normally see, we've seen some of those. We do handle some listings level cases from time to time, but a lot of times they're either, especially these respiratory cases, they're either not on the chart, or they haven't had an FEV1, which is the forced expiratory volume at a second, I believe is what the one stands for. But they haven't had a pulmonary function study, or they've had one and it wasn't done the way Social Security likes. Social Security likes you, or will, if you ever have them do the study, you have to do 3 studies without any kind of medication. If you're on an inhaler, no, you're going to blow into this tube. You're going to do it 3 times, and then after that, they're going to give you a bronchodilator, and then it's going to probably open up your airways, because that's what bronchial dilators do, those inhalers. And then they're going to do the same thing. But and your post bronchial dilator values should be higher, because everything should be opened up. And if it's not, you got a pretty significant problem going on. So if you've done like a pulmonary function study at a hospital, you went in for an ER and you could barely catch your breath, and they had you do one. They almost always will just do one. You blow in it, you get the reading, and it's okay, well, and that's all they do. Whereas Social Security is like, no, you have to do 3 without a bronchial dilator, and then 3 with, if there's some severity showing. Of course, if you did it 3 times and the volume, your expiratory volume was huge, there's no reason for you to even administer a bronchial dilator, because you're doing fine. So but there will always be 3 with Social Security, at least 3, sometimes 6, if they do the bronchial dilator. So what you want to tell your doctor is, I'm having trouble breathing, and keep in mind that just the way that God created us, everybody becomes short of breath when they exert themselves. I will challenge anybody watching the video, hop out, put your tennis shoes on, hop outside, run around your property 3 times as fast as you can, and then take a video of what you look like afterwards. And if you do it all the time, if you're just a runner, you're still going to be out of breath. That's normal. That's not what COPD is. COPD is a leisurely stroll to your mailbox that might be 40 miles, 40 feet away from your front door, which is not much. You know, it's like not even a little league home to first base, 40 feet. And halfway there, you're panting. You have to stop. That's significant. Or I ask this in almost all my hearings where there is a respiratory allegation, if you have COPD or emphysema, bronchitis, chronic bronchitis, do you ever become short of breath just sitting around? Like if you're watching TV, you know, you're watching an episode of something, and you have to hit your inhaler. Does that ever happen? Oh, yeah. How frequent does that happen? I have to do that probably 2 or 3 times a week. Okay, that's something that you would see in somebody with COPD. There's no real reason for them to be getting winded or short of breath, and yet they are. They're just having a hard time with that. I do want to say this. It is extremely damaging to your case if you have a problem with COPD, emphysema, bronchitis, asthma, anything like that, and you're still smoking. In fact, the first question out of the judge's mouth when they're asking you about your impairments will be, do you smoke? Or if they see it on the case record, are you still smoking? And it's damaging to your case because the judge is going to ask this question. Well, have your doctors told you to quit? He asked that question, but he knows the answer already. You know the answer already, that every single time you've gone into your doctor complaining of shortness of breath and he smells, cigarettes on you, you need to quit. I know, well, you need to quit. And then the judge is going to ask you, has the doctor told you need to quit? And you need to tell the truth. Yeah. But it's an addiction, and some of the judges are pretty understanding about the hold that people, the spell they're under with nicotine and other kinds of addictions. But it is damaging to your case because it is something that you're choosing to do. You're smoking, and you're still short of breath, but you need to tell your doctor, go into the mailbox. I can't even do that. Or, I was sitting around watching, my favorite episodes of Seinfeld, and I just, I'm watching this show. I'm not excited or anything. And the next thing I know, I'm having to hit my inhaler. That's the kind of evidence that we would be expected to see in somebody who's got significant COPD.
Yeah. And then going back to whether or not they're smoking, like we were talking about in the last episode that we did about substance abuse, same thing applies. It's not an automatic denial. So definitely don't apply for benefits and say, well, I have COPD, but I'm still smoking. I can't tell them that I'm smoking or I'll just get denied automatically, so I'll just lie about it. That's not the right perspective. No. You got to be truthful. It is going to damage your case if you're still smoking. But what's going to damage your case even more is if you just lie to us and you lie to Social Security.
Yeah, because they'll see it in the medical records. And, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've seen it posted several times that the 2 most addictive substances on planet Earth that are used, we're not talking about opiates or anything like that right now, but we are talking about just common kinds of addictive substances, caffeine and nicotine.
Yep.
And a lot of the judges, they might ask a follow-up question, which I think is extremely fair of them to do. Mr. Smith, you still smoking? Medical record shows me. Yes, Your Honor, I'm smoking. Okay. You expected the question. You answered it honestly. Expect this. What have you done to quit? I mean, what kind of attempts have you made to quit? And when you start talking about attempts, like, I've tried the patch, I've tried the gum, I've tried this, I've tried that. And, I used to smoke 2 packs a day. I'm down to 10 cigarettes a day, which is half a pack. That probably is not going to be damaging to your case because it shows that you're trying to actually address the situation. And it's not going to be damaging to your case for you to have cut down so much that the medical records show it. The doctor asks you the same question, what are you down to? About 10 cigarettes a day now. Okay, half a pack a day. But you're still having those symptoms. So you're right. I mean, it's probably going to damage the case, but it's not going to be a deal killer.
If you have a question about your disability case, give us a call at 615-453-9151 Monday through Friday, or click the link in the description of this video.